It was a cold, dark evening in the city. Jack sat huddled against the brick wall of an alley, wrapped in an old, tattered coat. The streets were busy, but he was invisible to most people, just another homeless man, forgotten and ignored. He had been on the streets for years now, learning how to survive by whatever means he could. It wasn't much of a life, but it was the only one he knew. The night felt heavier than usual. There was an odd tension in the air, something that made Jack's skin prickle. He rubbed his hands together, trying to get some warmth, when suddenly, a loud crash shook the ground beneath him. It felt as though the whole city trembled. Jack froze, his heart pounding in his chest. He looked up toward the sky, searching for the source of the noise. Then, in the distance, he saw a streak of bright light, like a shooting star, hurtling towards the ground. Before he could even blink, the sky lit up with a blinding flash of light. The light was so intense that it nearly blinded him. But Jack could barely make out the shape of something crashing down, just outside the alley. The ground shook again, and Jack's instincts kicked in. Despite the cold, despite his own struggles, Jack couldn't just sit back and do nothing. He stood up, his legs wobbling slightly, and stumbled toward the source of the crash. When he reached the spot, he couldn't believe his eyes. There, lying in a heap of twisted metal and glowing wreckage, was an alien. It wasn't like anything Jack had ever seen before. The creature's body shimmered with a soft, bluish glow. Its skin unlike anything Jack could imagine, smooth and almost translucent, as if it were made of something otherworldly. Its eyes, though closed, held a strange depth, like they contained a universe of secrets. Jack didn't know what to do. The alien was badly injured, its breathing shallow. It looked as though it had been through something terrible. There was no time to wonder what this strange being was doing here, or how it had fallen from the sky. Jack's first thought was survival, not just his own, but the alien's as well. Without thinking, Jack carefully approached the alien. His hands were trembling, but he tried to ignore it as he gently touched the creature's arm. The skin was warm to the touch, and for a brief moment, Jack felt a strange connection. The alien's chest rose and fell slowly, but it was clear it needed help. Jack didn't hesitate. He didn't care that he didn't understand who or what this being was. He just knew that it was in trouble, and he was the only one there to help. He scanned the area quickly, looking for anything that could help. He found a few pieces of broken wood and old rags in a nearby dumpster. Gathering them up, he returned to the alien, carefully placing the rags under its head to make it more comfortable. He wasn't a doctor, but he had learned a thing or two about survival over the years. He tore a piece of his own coat and wrapped it around the alien's wound, trying to stop the bleeding. It wasn't much, but it was the best he could do. As he worked, the alien's eyes fluttered open for a moment. It looked directly at Jack, and for a second, Jack felt a chill run down his spine. There was something in those eyes, something intelligent, something ancient. The alien's lips moved slightly, but Jack couldn't understand what it was trying to say. Still, Jack wasn't scared. The only thing that mattered right now was keeping the alien alive. Jack whispered, almost to himself, "Hang on. I'm here to help you," with the alien still unconscious and barely breathing. Jack decided to carry it to the nearest abandoned building, hoping to find shelter for the night. He didn't know what would happen next, but he couldn't leave the creature to die in the cold. Whatever this alien was, it had somehow crossed into Jack's life, and Jack was determined to help it, even if he didn't fully understand why. As he carefully lifted the alien into his arms, he couldn't shake the feeling that something incredible was about to happen. The night was still young, but Jack's world was about to change forever. The next few days felt like a blur for Jack. He hadn't expected this kind of life-saving an alien. Yet, here he was, sitting in the dim light of the abandoned building, with the strange being beside him. The alien, though still unconscious, seemed to radiate a quiet energy that made Jack feel uneasy yet oddly fascinated. Each time Jack checked on it, the creature's wounds were healing at an astonishing rate. What was this thing? Jack couldn't stop thinking about it. It wasn't long before the alien's eyes opened again. But this time, Jack was ready. He sat by its side, watching intently as the alien's glowing eyes blinked slowly, as if adjusting to the darkness. The air around them hummed with an almost electric charge, and for the first time in Jack's life, He felt truly uncertain. Was this creature capable of something beyond human understanding? The alien's gaze fixed on Jack, and in that moment, Jack swore he saw something recognition, maybe even relief. The alien lifted its hand slowly, as though testing its strength, and Jack instinctively took a small step back, unsure of what would happen next. The creature's fingers moved in strange, delicate patterns, almost like it was trying to communicate. Jack leaned forward, his curiosity growing. "Are you okay?" Jack asked, his voice shaky but sincere. He wasn't sure why he'd even asked. He had no way of knowing if the alien could understand him, but somehow it felt right. The alien's lips parted, but no sound came out. Instead, it raised its hand toward Jack, palm open. Jack hesitated, but something deep inside urged him to move closer. He slowly stretched out his own hand. As their palms met, a strange warmth spread through Jack's arm, almost like an electric current, but not painful, more like a deep connection. A sudden surge of images flashed in his mind. The stars, distant planets, a voice in his head that he couldn't fully understand. The alien's eyes glimmered again, and for a brief moment, Jack felt like he was drowning in the vastness of space. The images were so vivid: alien landscapes, towering structures, endless galaxies spinning in every direction. And then, as quickly as it had started, the vision faded. Jack stumbled back, gasping for breath, his heart racing in his chest. The alien lowered its hand and stared at him intently. Jack felt a strange sense of understanding, but he couldn't explain why. It was as if they had shared something, a moment of connection that went beyond words. For the rest of that night, Jack stayed by the alien's side. The creature seemed calmer now, its breathing steady and strong. It occasionally made soft, almost musical sounds, but nothing Jack could understand. He tried to focus on the strange energy he had felt when their hands touched, but it left him with more questions than answers. Was this alien some kind of being from another world? And if so, what was it doing here, in the middle of a city, injured and alone? As Jack tried to sleep, his mind raced. He couldn't help but wonder how this strange event had come into his life. He had always believed that things in life happened for a reason, but this was beyond anything he had ever imagined. There was something extraordinary about this alien, something far beyond his understanding. And as he lay awake in the cold, the feeling that his life was about to change forever grew stronger with each passing second. The morning light filtered through the cracks in the building, but Jack didn't feel the warmth he usually did. Instead, he felt the weight of the unknown pressing on him. The alien was still by his side, waiting. What would happen now? Would it speak to him? Would it reveal its purpose? Jack didn't know, but one thing was certain: he had no choice but to find out. The days that followed were nothing like anything Jack had ever experienced. The alien had begun to regain its strength at an alarming rate, and with each passing hour, its glow seemed to grow brighter. It didn't speak, but Jack could feel an unspoken connection between them. The alien watched him with its deep, luminous eyes, and Jack couldn't shake the feeling that it was trying to communicate. If only he could understand. One evening, as Jack was gathering what little food he could find, he noticed something strange. The alien, still lying on the ground where Jack had left it, suddenly sat up. Its movements were slow but deliberate, and when it raised its hand towards the ceiling, a soft blue light emanated from its fingertips. Jack froze, his heart racing. The alien was doing something he couldn't explain. It wasn't just recovering, it was changing. He approached cautiously, unsure of what to expect. "What are you doing?" Jack murmured, though he knew the alien couldn't answer. But the moment the words left his mouth, something unexpected happened. The air around him shifted, as if the very atmosphere was bending to the alien's will. The temperature dropped, and a strange hum filled the room. The alien's eyes met his, and in that moment, Jack felt the same deep connection he had felt when they had first touched hands. But now, there was something more, something powerful. The alien made a movement with its hand, and suddenly, Jack's mind was flooded with images. Bright flashes of otherworldly landscapes, vast, barren planets, and endless stretches of stars. But this time, it wasn't just a passive vision. Jack could feel what it was showing him. He could feel the weight of the stars, the silent, crushing emptiness of space. He saw the alien's homeworld, a place unlike anything on Earth. Towering cities made of light and metal, filled with beings of the same kind as the one lying before him. But then the vision shifted. He saw darkness, destruction, and a war that threatened to tear everything apart. Jack didn't understand all of it, but the emotions were raw anger, fear, and sorrow. The alien had been a part of that war, a survivor of something much larger than Jack could ever imagine. The vision faded as quickly as it had come, and Jack stumbled backward, trying to catch his breath. His heart was pounding in his chest, and his hands shook as if he had just woken from a nightmare. The alien's eyes were closed now, its body still, as if nothing had happened. But Jack could feel the change in the air. It was as if the alien had just shared a secret one that Jack wasn't quite ready to understand. For the first time, Jack felt something stir inside him. It was no longer just about helping a strange, injured being. It was about something much bigger. The alien wasn't just a survivor. It was part of something that reached far beyond Earth, far beyond Jack's understanding. And for some reason, Jack had become a part of it. But the question remained, why had this alien chosen him? Why had it shown him its world, its pain? The answers were out there, somewhere, waiting for him to find them. But as Jack sat there, the weight of it all pressing down on him, he knew one thing for certain: his life would never be the same again. And with that realization, a new kind of fear took root in his chest, one that wasn't just about survival anymore. It was the fear of the unknown. As the days passed, Jack could feel the world around him changing. What had started as a strange encounter in the dark alley now felt like the beginning of something much bigger. The alien was no longer just a mysterious being to help. It was a key to a world that Jack could barely comprehend. Its powers were extraordinary, and the more Jack observed, the more he realized that the alien was far from helpless. It was a survivor, and it had brought a part of that survival with it, something Jack had yet to fully grasp. One afternoon, while Jack was rummaging through a dumpster for food, he returned to find the alien standing. The room seemed to hum with energy as the creature slowly rose to its feet. Its skin shimmered, glowing softly in the dim light, and its eyes, those deep, unfathomable eyes, locked onto Jack with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. "I never thought I'd see you standing," Jack whispered, unsure if the alien could even understand. But the moment the words left his mouth, the alien tilted its head, almost as if acknowledging the comment. It stretched its limbs, then motioned for Jack to come closer, its hand outstretched. Jack hesitated, then stepped forward. When their hands met again, the familiar warmth pulsed through him, but this time, something was different. Instead of images of vast galaxies or alien worlds, Jack felt a wave of information flood his mind: strange symbols, coordinates, and a faint sense of urgency. The alien had shown him something new, something important, a location, a map. Suddenly, the alien took a step back and reached into its clothing, pulling out what looked like a small, metallic orb. The surface of the orb gleamed under the flickering light, and Jack couldn't take his eyes off it. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. The alien held it out to Jack, offering it to him. Jack's mind raced. Was this the key to everything? Was this orb the treasure the alien had been hiding? Before he could reach for it, there was a loud bang from outside the building, sharp, sudden, and unmistakably close. Jack's heart skipped a beat. Someone had found them. The alien's expression changed. It didn't show fear, but there was a quiet urgency in the way it moved. It quickly slipped the orb into Jack's hand, then nodded toward the door. The sound of footsteps outside grew louder, and Jack could hear voices murmuring low, threatening, but unmistakably human. The alien made a sharp gesture, and Jack understood immediately. They needed to leave, but it was too late to escape through the back door. The hunters were already closing in, and Jack had no idea who they were or why they were after the alien. His heart pounded as the alien stepped into position, ready to defend. It was clear now that this wasn't just some random encounter. The alien was being hunted, and Jack had unknowingly become a part of that hunt. A part of him wanted to flee, to take the orb and run. But another part of him, the part that had connected with the alien on a level deeper than words, knew that he couldn't just leave. The alien had shown him trust, and now it was Jack's turn to return the favor. With the orb clutched tightly in his hand, Jack made a choice. He wasn't just a bystander anymore. He was involved, whether he liked it or not. As the first of the hunters pushed open the door, Jack took a deep breath, bracing for what was about to happen. The world he knew, the life he had lived, was fading away. Whatever came next, Jack knew he couldn't go back to the way things were. Not now, not after everything that had happened. The moment the door slammed open, the chaos erupted. Jack's breath caught in his throat as 3 men in dark clothing stormed into the room, their eyes scanning the space like predators hunting their prey. They didn't even look at Jack at first. His presence, a homeless man sitting in the corner, was nothing to them. They were focused on the alien. One of the men, tall and built like a boulder, stepped forward, his eyes narrowing as he caught sight of the alien. The creature stood there, unmoving, its glowing skin casting an eerie light in the dim room. Jack's hand tightened around the orb the alien had given him. He had no idea what it did, but it felt important, like the weight of the universe was resting in his palm. "You're not going anywhere," the man growled, his voice low and menacing. Jack didn't know what they wanted, but one thing was clear: these men were not here to ask questions. They weren't here to help. His heart pounded in his chest as the tension in the room thickened. The alien didn't flinch. Instead, it stood tall, its gaze meeting the men's with a quiet intensity, as if it had been through worse and was ready for whatever was coming next. The leader of the group raised his hand, signaling to his men. Without a word, they moved into position, flanking the alien on either side. Jack's pulse raced. He could feel the danger creeping closer. He had to do something, anything, to stop them from taking the alien. Instinctively, Jack stepped forward. "Leave it alone," he said, his voice shaky but determined. His mind was spinning, trying to think of a way out, but nothing made sense. The alien was no ordinary being. It was powerful, but Jack didn't know how to harness that power. All he had was the orb and the trust that the alien had placed in him. The men ignored Jack, focusing entirely on the alien. One of them reached for a device strapped to his waist, a small, metallic weapon that hummed with a low, menacing sound. Jack's breath quickened. He knew they weren't here to negotiate. In that instant, everything seemed to slow down. The alien raised its hand toward the weapon, and the room filled with a strange energy, almost like the air had thickened. The man with the weapon froze, his eyes wide in shock as his hand hovered above the gun, unable to move. It was as though the alien had stopped time, or at least his control over it. Then, with a sudden surge of power, the alien released a burst of light from its hand. The shockwave hit the men like a wall, knocking them off their feet. They tumbled backward, their weapons falling from their hands, as the force of the energy sent them flying across the room. Jack stood in awe, his mouth agape. He hadn't expected that. The alien was no longer just a survivor, it was a force to be reckoned with. He watched as the men scrambled to regain their footing, clearly stunned by the alien's power. The leader of the group, now visibly shaken, took a step back, his face contorting with frustration. But the alien didn't stop. It moved toward Jack, its eyes still glowing with that quiet, ancient power. Jack could feel the energy pulsing between them, as if the alien was urging him to act. Without thinking, Jack lifted the orb, holding it up as if it could somehow protect them. The alien's gaze shifted to it, and for a brief moment, Jack felt an overwhelming sense of connection. The orb pulsed in his hand, as if answering some unspoken call. Suddenly, the men recovered, pulling out other devices from their belts. They were regrouping, preparing for another attack. Jack's heart raced. There was no time to waste. The alien's power could only do so much. He had to act now. Run! Jack shouted, grabbing the alien's arm. Without waiting for a response, he pulled it toward the back door. The alien hesitated for a moment, then nodded. They had no choice but to escape, and escape fast. As they burst through the door and into the alley, the sounds of pursuit echoed behind them. Jack didn't look back. He knew there was no going back now. Whatever lay ahead, whatever danger they faced, the world he knew had already slipped through his fingers. The only thing left was to survive and to protect the alien, no matter what it took. The world outside felt completely different, as if the moment they stepped into the alley, the rules of reality had shifted. The sound of their footsteps echoed in the narrow street, and Jack's heart hammered in his chest. He had no idea where they were going, only that they needed to get far away from the men who were chasing them. His mind raced, trying to make sense of everything that had happened in the past few days. The alien, the orb, the strange powers, it was all beyond anything he had ever imagined. But as they moved quickly through the dark streets, something shifted in the air. The alien beside him seemed to grow even more focused, its glowing eyes scanning the surroundings with incredible precision. Jack could feel the alien's power intensifying, its energy thrumming in the air like an invisible pulse. They weren't just running from something, they were running toward something. And Jack was starting to realize that he wasn't just a passenger in this journey. He was a part of it. They reached a quiet, abandoned part of the city, a maze of old warehouses and empty buildings that Jack knew like the back of his hand. He had often found shelter here when the nights grew too cold, but tonight, it felt different. The streets were more silent than usual, almost too quiet. Jack stopped and glanced around nervously, sensing that the chase wasn't over. Despite the distance they had covered, he turned to the alien, who was standing still now, its body glowing brighter than ever before. The alien spoke for the first time in a language that Jack couldn't understand, but there was a calm urgency in its tone. As Jack watched, the alien's hands moved in slow, deliberate patterns, drawing symbols in the air. For a moment, it felt as if time itself had slowed down, and Jack was no longer in control of his own thoughts. He could hear faint whispers, like a chorus of voices calling out to him. And then, just like that, the alien stopped. Its glowing eyes locked onto Jack's. Jack's mind raced. Was it trying to tell him something? Was it preparing for something else? Before he could ask, the ground beneath them trembled, and the distant hum of engines filled the air. The hunters were back, their search not far behind. But this time, it wasn't just about evading capture. Jack had realized deep down that something much bigger was at play here. The alien wasn't just a victim in this story, it was the key to something more. Suddenly, the alien raised its hand, and a beam of pure energy shot into the sky. The light crackled, sending a wave of power that lit up the night. Jack's eyes widened as he felt the force of it like a beacon calling out across the city. His breath caught in his throat as the beam split into multiple directions, illuminating the streets with an eerie glow. The ground shook once more, this time with more intensity. From the distance, Jack saw a massive ship, silent and sleek, hovering just above the city skyline. The alien's ship. It was here, coming to take them away. But Jack couldn't move. He was frozen, staring at the ship in awe. The weight of everything they had gone through, the danger, the unknown, the feeling of being hunted, it all came rushing back. But now, there was no more running. The alien had called its people, and they were here. The moment of clarity was almost overwhelming. Jack wasn't just a witness anymore. He wasn't just helping an alien survive. He was part of this greater story, part of something that reached beyond the stars. His life, as he knew it, was over. This was a new beginning. As the ship descended, Jack felt the alien beside him step forward, its body glowing even brighter now. The doors of the ship slowly opened, revealing a platform of light. Jack's heart pounded as he realized what was happening. They were being taken somewhere else, somewhere far beyond the city, beyond the life he had known. But it wasn't just the alien's story. It was his too. With one last look at the empty streets, Jack stepped forward, unsure of what awaited them, but knowing, for the first time in his life, that he was exactly where he was supposed to be. And the adventure that had started with a chance encounter was only just beginning. The ship hovered just above the ground, its sleek, metallic surface gleaming in the dim city lights, casting long shadows across the alleyway. Jack's heart raced as he stepped closer to the opening, the alien by his side, its glowing presence the only light in the overwhelming darkness. The door of the ship slid open slowly, revealing a vast, glowing interior, nothing like anything Jack had ever seen before. It was clean, ethereal, with walls that shimmered like liquid metal, pulsing softly in rhythm with the steady hum of the ship's engines. Jack hesitated for a moment, looking back one last time at the streets he knew so well, the cold, unforgiving world he had spent years trying to survive in. But now, with the alien beside him and the massive ship waiting, everything felt different. The world he had known was vanishing behind him, replaced by a future that was as terrifying as it was exhilarating. The alien gave a soft, almost imperceptible nod, as if urging Jack forward. Without a word, Jack stepped inside. The moment he crossed the threshold, the door closed silently behind him, and he was swallowed by the ship's quiet, otherworldly glow. The air inside felt different, lighter, almost weightless. It was as though the ship itself was alive, reacting to their presence. Inside the ship, the alien's behavior changed. It moved with a purpose, its eyes scanning the space with a kind of serene confidence. Jack watched as it approached a large, holographic panel that flickered to life the moment it made contact. Images and symbols appeared in the air, swirling in a mesmerizing dance. Jack couldn't make sense of them, but he knew they weren't random. The alien was communicating with the ship, somehow guiding it toward its destination. The hum of the engine shifted, a low vibration that reverberated through Jack's chest. He looked around, trying to take in the enormity of it all. The ship seemed to stretch on forever, corridors of light stretching into the distance. But there were no windows, no visible controls like he'd imagined in the movies. It was as if the entire ship existed in a state of perfect harmony, controlled by something far beyond human comprehension. "Where are we going?" Jack finally asked, his voice sounding small in the vastness of the ship. The alien didn't respond directly, but it did something that sent a ripple of understanding through Jack. It gestured for him to follow. As Jack walked, the walls shifted around them, the space bending and warping in ways that made his stomach churn. He wasn't sure what was happening, but it was clear now. This wasn't just a ship. This was something alive, something that operated on principles Jack couldn't even begin to understand. The alien led him down a series of corridors until they reached a large, circular chamber. In the center of the room, a holographic display materialized, projecting an image of distant stars and galaxies, some of which Jack recognized, others that were completely foreign. The alien reached out and tapped a series of symbols in the air. The stars on the map flickered, and a new section of the galaxy lit up in bright, vivid colors. "This is where I come from," the alien's voice echoed in Jack's mind, more felt than heard, like a whisper in his thoughts. "And this is where we must go." The message was clear. The alien wasn't just seeking refuge, it was leading Jack on a journey across the stars, to a place Jack could barely imagine. His life, his past, everything that had defined him until now was fading away. There was no turning back. The reality of it hit him like a punch to the gut. Jack's thoughts swirled, his mind racing. He was no longer just a survivor in the streets of a forgotten city. He was part of something far bigger than himself, something that could change everything. As the ship began to move, accelerating into the vast unknown, Jack knew that he wasn't just witnessing the beginning of an adventure, he was becoming a part of it. And for the first time in his life, Jack wasn't afraid. He was ready.